My wife confessed her love for her boss at our 10th wedding anniversary party, so I exposed their affair to his pregnant wife and watched her lose everything in 48 hours. I'd spent weeks planning what I thought would be a celebration of our decade together, booking the community center where we'd held our wedding reception, coordinating with caterers, and inviting everyone who mattered to us. I wanted this night to be perfect for Chloe, to show her how much our marriage meant to me after 10 years of building a life together. The party was everything I'd envisioned, our families mingling with friends, Chloe's colleagues from the accounting firm where she worked praising the venue and food, everyone raising toasts to our future. I watched Chloe work the room in her elegant black dress, the one I'd surprised her with last month, thinking about how proud I was to call her my wife. About 2 hours into the celebration, after she'd had several glasses of wine, Chloe pulled me aside near the dessert table where her coworkers couldn't overhear us. "Trevor, I need to tell you something important," she said, her voice carrying that serious tone I'd been hearing more often lately. I figured she wanted to thank me for organizing everything or maybe discuss our vacation plans. Instead, she looked directly into my eyes and said, "I'm in love with Vincent. He makes me feel alive in ways you never could." The words hit like stepping into a structure fire without protective gear, sudden, disorienting, devastating. She continued talking, explaining how Vincent understood her ambitions, how their relationship had developed over the past year through late-night strategy sessions and business conferences, how he appreciated her intelligence in ways I apparently couldn't. "We connect on a level that's just different, Trevor. He sees my potential and believes in my capabilities as a professional woman." I stood there processing this information while our anniversary party continued around us, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses creating this surreal backdrop to my marriage ending. My training as a firefighter had taught me to stay calm during emergencies, to think clearly when everything was falling apart, and that's exactly what I did. "I appreciate you telling me," I said quietly, my voice steady despite feeling like I'd been hit by a collapsing beam. "I guess that explains a lot about how things have been between us lately." Chloe looked almost relieved, like she'd expected me to make a scene or beg her to reconsider. "I'm glad you understand. Vincent and I haven't crossed any physical lines, but emotionally, we've become incredibly close. He's shown me what it means to be with someone who truly gets me." I nodded, watching her face for any sign of remorse or uncertainty, finding none. "Well, I should probably get back to hosting our guests. People are asking about the anniversary toast." She smiled, actually smiled, as if unburdening herself of this secret had lifted some weight off her shoulders. "Of course, we should definitely keep this between us for tonight. No need to ruin everyone else's celebration." I spent the rest of the evening playing the role of devoted husband, thanking guests for coming, cutting the anniversary cake, and making small talk while my mind worked through what I just learned. Chloe mingled effortlessly with her colleagues, laughing at Vincent's jokes. Yes, he was there, had been there all evening, watching my wife tell me she loved him while he ate the food I'd paid for and drank the wine I'd selected. When the last guest left and we were cleaning up, Chloe seemed almost energetic, chattering about how successful the party had been and how impressed her coworkers were with the venue. I listened, already planning my next steps, knowing that this woman who just destroyed our 10-year marriage at our own anniversary celebration had no idea what was coming her way. Looking back at our relationship, I realized I'd been funding Chloe's transformation into someone who would eventually consider me beneath her. When we married, she was working part-time doing basic bookkeeping for a small medical practice, having graduated from community college with an associate degree in business. She had dreams of becoming a certified public accountant, but lacked the resources to pursue the additional education and certification required. I believed in her potential and wanted to support her ambitions, so I took on the financial responsibility of turning her dreams into reality. Over 8 years, I paid for everything: her bachelor's degree completion program at the State University, which cost $18,000, her CPA exam preparation courses at $3,200, the exam fees themselves at $800, continuing education seminars that were mandatory for maintaining her license, averaging $2,500 annually, and professional development workshops that she claimed were essential for advancement, totaling another $8,500. The grand total came to nearly $35,000 from my firefighter salary, money I could have used for a down payment on a better house or invested for our future retirement. At the time, I was proud to make these sacrifices because I loved watching Chloe grow professionally and gain confidence in her abilities. She started at a small accounting firm doing tax preparation, then moved to a mid-sized company handling payroll and basic audits, before landing her current position at Morrison & Associates, one of Chicago's more prestigious accounting firms. Initially, she appreciated my support and would come home excited about her projects, asking my opinion on career decisions and thanking me for believing in her when she doubted herself. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Trevor," she used to say. "You saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself." But somewhere along the way, particularly after she passed her CPA exam and started working with more affluent clients, her attitude shifted. She began making subtle comments about my lack of formal education, suggesting I should consider pursuing a business degree to expand my horizons and better myself professionally. "Most of my colleagues' husbands have advanced degrees," she mentioned one evening after a firm holiday party. "It would be nice if you could relate to their conversations about market analysis and financial planning." I reminded her that I save lives for a living, that my job requires extensive training and continuing education, that firefighters need to understand building construction, hazardous materials, emergency medicine, and crisis management. "That's different, Trevor. That's technical training, not intellectual development," she replied, dismissing 8 years of specialized education and experience as somehow inferior to her accounting knowledge. The irony wasn't lost on me that the woman whose entire career I'd funded was now suggesting I wasn't educated enough for her social circle. She started coming home from work events with stories about her colleagues' sophisticated lifestyles, their vacation homes, their children's private school educations, their investment portfolios. "Vincent was telling us about his family's ski house in Colorado," she'd say. "Can you imagine having that kind of financial freedom?" When I pointed out that we had financial stability, a nice home, and good retirement savings, she'd wave off my practical achievements as middle-class thinking that kept people from reaching their true potential. The woman who used to appreciate my steady income and job security now saw them as limitations, evidence that I lacked the ambition to achieve what her new professional circle considered real success. Everything changed when Vincent got promoted to partner at Morrison & Associates 2 years ago. Suddenly, Chloe's work schedule became erratic, filled with critical audit reviews that required her immediate attention and high-priority client meetings that couldn't be rescheduled. She volunteered for every project Vincent supervised, claiming these assignments were essential for her professional growth and partnership track positioning. Vincent specifically requested me for the Henderson Group audit, she'd announce with obvious pride. He said my attention to detail and analytical skills make me indispensable for complex financial restructuring projects. I watched her transform before my eyes, adopting Vincent's sophisticated vocabulary about tax optimization strategies, regulatory compliance frameworks, and international financial markets. She started reading business publications she'd never shown interest in before, subscribing to financial journals and attending webinars on topics far beyond her current job responsibilities. Vincent recommended this excellent article about emerging trends in corporate taxation, she'd say, showing me dense technical papers that she'd somehow found time to study despite her demanding work schedule. Her wardrobe underwent a complete overhaul, with expensive blazers, designer shoes, and jewelry that far exceeded what her salary could reasonably support. When I asked about these purchases, she explained they were professional investments necessary for client-facing responsibilities and partnership consideration. Image matters in high-stakes financial consulting, Trevor. Vincent always says that clients judge our competency based on how we present ourselves. She purchased a $400 handbag because Vincent mentioned that successful women carry quality accessories, and a $200 perfume because Vincent noticed that executive presence includes subtle sophistication in every detail. Meanwhile, my stories about saving lives in burning buildings became routine emergency work that she'd dismiss with barely concealed boredom. "That's nice, honey," she'd say absently while checking her phone for Vincent's latest urgent message about client deadlines or strategic planning sessions. Her phone became permanently attached to her hand, buzzing constantly with notifications that would make her face light up with excitement. "Vincent needs my input on the Morrison restructuring proposal," she'd explain, rushing to respond to messages that apparently couldn't wait until business hours. Weekend family dinners were interrupted by emergency consultations that required her immediate attention, always involving Vincent's personal guidance and mentorship. She started attending weekend seminars in Milwaukee, Indianapolis, and other neighboring cities where Vincent would also be presenting on advanced accounting methodologies and partnership development strategies. "It's incredible learning directly from someone at Vincent's level," she'd gush after these trips. "He's teaching me things about financial analysis that I never learned in school." I noticed she'd purchased expensive lingerie and silk sleepwear, items that never appeared during our increasingly rare intimate moments. When I commented on her new undergarments, she claimed they were necessary for professional confidence in high-pressure situations. "Successful women understand that feeling polished and put together affects performance in client presentations and partnership meetings," she explained. "Vincent always emphasizes that excellence in every detail translates to excellence in professional results." The woman who used to wear my old t-shirts to bed was now spending hundreds of dollars on lingerie for professional confidence, and I was supposed to believe this had nothing to do with impressing her mentor Vincent. Our marriage deteriorated into a series of canceled plans and broken promises as Chloe prioritized Vincent's demands over our relationship. Date nights we'd scheduled weeks in advance would be abandoned at the last minute because Vincent needed her immediate assistance with urgent client emergencies that somehow always required personal attention beyond normal business hours. "I'm so sorry, Trevor, but Vincent called an emergency strategy session for the Patterson account," she'd explain while rushing to change into her most professional outfit. "This client represents millions in potential revenue, and Vincent specifically needs my expertise on their tax optimization structure." I'd sit alone in restaurants where I'd made reservations, explaining to servers that my wife wouldn't be joining me due to work obligations, feeling like a fool for believing her commitments to our marriage meant anything anymore. She became physically distant, always tired from her demanding schedule, claiming that the stress of high-level financial consulting left her emotionally drained. Our conversations became one-sided affairs where she'd talk enthusiastically about Vincent's brilliant insights while showing zero interest in my experiences or opinions. "Vincent has this incredible ability to see patterns in financial data that most people miss completely," she'd say with genuine admiration. Today he explained market correlation theories that completely changed how I understand investment risk assessment. When I tried to share stories about challenging rescues or interesting calls, she'd nod absently while scrolling through her phone, clearly waiting for me to finish so she could return to Vincent's messages. Her face would literally transform when his name appeared on her screen, lighting up with excitement that I hadn't seen directed toward me in months. "Vincent wants my opinion on the quarterly projections," she'd announce, immediately typing lengthy responses to texts that apparently required her undivided attention and sophisticated analytical input. During the rare moments when we did spend time together, she'd constantly compare my limited worldview to Vincent's sophisticated understanding of complex financial markets and corporate strategy. Vincent was explaining how international currency fluctuations affect domestic investment portfolios, she'd mention casually. "It's fascinating how global economics interconnect in ways most people never consider." The implication was clear. Vincent operated on an intellectual level that I couldn't possibly comprehend, making observations and connections that my firefighter brain wasn't equipped to appreciate. When I suggested we needed couples counseling to address the growing distance between us, she dismissed my concerns as jealousy and professional insecurity. "Trevor, you're being unreasonable. Vincent is my supervisor and mentor. Learning from someone at his level is essential for career advancement," she said with exasperation. "I can't help it if you feel threatened by my professional relationships and growth opportunities." She accused me of trying to sabotage her career success because I couldn't handle her achievements and intellectual development. "Maybe if you pursued your own professional growth instead of staying comfortable in the same position year after year, You'd understand what real ambition looks like, she added with a coldness that cut deeper than any physical injury I'd sustained on the job. After Chloe's anniversary party confession, I knew I needed concrete evidence before taking any action, so I hired Marcus Rodriguez, a private investigator recommended by a fellow firefighter who'd used his services during his own divorce proceedings. Marcus was thorough, professional, and remarkably efficient at uncovering information that painted a devastating picture of both Vincent's character and the scope of his deception. Within a week, Marcus presented me with a comprehensive file that revealed Vincent and Chloe had been meeting at upscale hotels during their supposed business conferences, with credit card records showing expensive dinners, premium room service, and weekend getaways charged to Vincent's company expense account. Your wife and her boss have been staying at the Marriott downtown every Thursday night for the past 6 months, Marcus explained, showing me photographs of them entering and leaving the hotel together. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Same room, same routine, always charged as business entertainment expenses. But the most shocking discovery was that Vincent had been systematically embezzling client funds to finance his lifestyle and affair with Chloe. Marcus had traced unusual financial transfers, unauthorized expense reimbursements, and falsified audit reports that showed Vincent had stolen over $200,000 from client accounts over the past 18 months. He's been moving money between accounts, creating fake consulting fees, and billing personal expenses as legitimate business costs. Marcus showed me bank statements and financial records that revealed the full extent of Vincent's criminal activity. Your wife has been helping him cover this up by falsifying audit documentation and creating bogus expense justifications. The investigation revealed that Vincent's wife Sarah was 7 months pregnant with their second child and had absolutely no knowledge of either the affair or her husband's financial crimes. Marcus had conducted surveillance showing Sarah attending prenatal appointments alone while Vincent was meeting Chloe at expensive restaurants, completely oblivious to her husband's double life. She seems like a nice woman, Marcus said, showing me photos of Sarah shopping for baby clothes and managing their toddler by herself. She has no idea what's coming. Vincent had apparently promised Chloe they would leave their respective spouses and start a new life together once he secured their financial future through his illegal business activities. Marcus had recorded phone conversations where Vincent assured Chloe that he was building a substantial nest egg that would allow them to relocate to another state and start fresh with new identities if necessary. He's been telling your wife that he's close to accumulating enough money for them to disappear together. Marcus played me audio recordings that made my stomach turn. She believes they're going to have this amazing new life funded by stolen money. The evidence was overwhelming: hotel receipts, financial records, photographs, recorded conversations, and documented proof of both adultery and embezzlement. Marcus had built an airtight case that would destroy Vincent professionally, legally, and personally while exposing Chloe's complicity in covering up financial crimes that could result in federal charges. I sat in my truck outside the fire station, reading through the investigative report and realizing that my wife hadn't just betrayed our marriage, she'd become an accessory to serious financial crimes that would ruin multiple lives when the truth came out. I decided to destroy Vincent's life systematically over 48 hours, starting with the person who deserved to know the truth most, his pregnant wife Sarah. I drove to their suburban home on a Tuesday morning when I knew Vincent would be at work, carrying a manila envelope containing photographs, financial records, and hotel receipts that would shatter Sarah's world but give her the information she needed to protect herself and her children. Sarah answered the door looking tired but radiant in that way pregnant women often do, her hand resting protectively on her 7-month bump while their 2-year-old played in the background. "Hi, I'm Trevor," I said gently. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I have some information about your husband that you need to see." Her face changed immediately, maternal instincts sensing danger. "What kind of information?" "The kind that's going to be very difficult to hear, but that you need to know before this baby arrives," I said, offering her the envelope. "I'm married to Vincent's colleague Chloe, and I recently discovered they've been having an affair for over a year." I watched Sarah's face process this information, her free hand moving to steady herself against the doorframe. "There's more and it's worse. Vincent has been embezzling money from client accounts to pay for their relationship. Over $200,000 in the past 18 months. Sarah invited me inside, and I spent the next hour showing her documented evidence of her husband's crimes and infidelity while she called her sister to watch the toddler. "I need to call my lawyer immediately," she said with remarkable composure after reviewing everything. "Thank you for bringing this to me. I know this couldn't have been easy." Within hours, Sarah had frozen their joint bank accounts, contacted a divorce attorney, and filed for emergency custody protection, effectively cutting off Vincent's access to family resources before he could hide or transfer additional assets. The next morning, I submitted a comprehensive report to the Illinois State Board of Public Accountancy with all the evidence Marcus had gathered, formally requesting an investigation into Vincent's professional conduct and CPA license status. I also contacted Morrison and Associates managing partners, sending them the financial documentation showing their star partner had been stealing client money and falsifying audit reports. "We appreciate you bringing this serious matter to our attention," the managing partner told me over the phone. "We're calling an emergency board meeting for this afternoon." By Wednesday evening, Vincent's professional world had completely collapsed. Morrison and Associates terminated his employment immediately after their emergency investigation confirmed the embezzlement, and they filed criminal charges with the FBI's white-collar crime division. The Illinois State Board suspended his CPA license pending their formal investigation, effectively ending his career in accounting permanently. Vincent returned home to find divorce papers, frozen bank accounts, and a restraining order preventing him from contacting Sarah or entering their family home. Meanwhile, Chloe arrived at work Thursday morning to discover she was suspended pending the firm's internal investigation into her role in covering up Vincent's financial crimes. Her involvement in falsifying audit reports and creating fake expense justifications made her an accessory to embezzlement, and Morrison and Associates couldn't risk keeping her employed while federal investigators examined her complicity in the scheme. "Trevor, what did you do?" she called me, panicking. "Vincent's been arrested, and they're saying I helped him steal money. This is insane." "I exposed the truth about what you two have been doing," I said calmly. "You made your choice at our anniversary party. Now you're living with the consequences." The local business news picked up the story within days, reporting on the Morrison and Associates embezzlement scandal and naming both Vincent and Chloe as subjects of the federal investigation, effectively destroying their professional reputations throughout Chicago's accounting community permanently. 8 months later, I was living a completely different life, one built on honesty and genuine connection rather than manipulation and financial crime. My divorce from Chloe had been finalized quickly since she couldn't afford to contest it after losing her job and facing potential federal charges. I'd kept our house, our savings, and my self-respect while she moved into a studio apartment and tried to rebuild from the wreckage of her choices. During the divorce proceedings, I'd started dating Amy Rodriguez, a 29-year-old emergency room nurse I'd met during a medical call where we'd worked together to save a car accident victim. Amy appreciated my dedication to saving lives and shared my values about honest work, genuine relationships, and building something real together rather than chasing status symbols and corporate fantasies. "I love that you actually make a difference in people's lives," Amy told me one evening as we cooked dinner together in my kitchen. "There's something incredibly attractive about a man who runs toward danger to help others instead of sitting behind a desk manipulating numbers for profit." We'd been taking things slowly, building trust and friendship alongside romance, both of us understanding the importance of solid foundations after our previous relationship experiences. Amy had been married briefly to a finance guy who'd turned out to be controlling and materialistic, so she understood the value of finding someone with genuine character and integrity. Vincent was serving 2 years in federal prison for embezzlement and wire fraud, his sentence reduced slightly due to cooperating with investigators and agreeing to testify against other financial criminals in the federal system. Sarah had successfully sued for full custody of their children and substantial alimony payments, leaving Vincent financially ruined and facing years of debt repayment upon his eventual release. "I heard he's working in the prison library," my lawyer mentioned during our final divorce meeting. "Apparently, he's teaching basic math to other inmates since his CPA license was permanently revoked." Sarah had given birth to a healthy daughter and was rebuilding her life with support from her family and the settlement money she'd recovered from Vincent's hidden accounts. She'd sent me a brief thank you note saying that my decision to expose the truth had saved her from years of additional financial abuse and legal complications. Chloe's situation was far more devastating than I'd anticipated. She'd lost her CPA license after the state board's investigation confirmed her complicity in Vincent's embezzlement scheme, and no accounting firm in Chicago would hire someone involved in such a high-profile financial scandal. The federal investigation had concluded that while she wasn't the mastermind, her falsification of audit documents made her an accessory to the crimes, resulting in 2 years of probation and substantial fines that consumed what little savings she had remaining. Unable to find work in her chosen profession, she'd taken a job as a cashier at a grocery store in a less expensive part of the city, earning minimum wage and living in a studio apartment that was smaller than the walk-in closet in our former bedroom. Her dreams of partnership at a prestigious firm had been replaced by the reality of scanning barcodes and asking customers if they wanted paper or plastic bags. The woman who'd once dismissed my career as lacking intellectual sophistication was now entirely dependent on tips from grocery customers and government assistance programs. Last month, Chloe had attempted to reconcile, calling me repeatedly and finally showing up at the fire station during my shift change. "Trevor, I made a terrible mistake," she said, looking exhausted and desperate in clothes that had seen better days. "Vincent manipulated me into believing his lies about our future together. I was stupid and got caught up in fantasies that weren't real." I listened to her explanation about how Vincent had convinced her that their relationship was destiny, how he'd promised her a life of luxury and sophistication that would elevate her beyond her middle-class origins. "I threw away everything real for something that was completely fake," she continued. "You were the best thing in my life, and I was too blind to see it until I lost everything." "I appreciate you saying that," I replied calmly, "but I'm building a life with someone who values character over status symbols and would never trade our partnership for corporate fantasies and stolen money." Amy appeared beside me then, having finished her shift at the hospital, and I introduced them briefly. Chloe's face showed genuine shock at seeing me with someone who was clearly intelligent, beautiful, and successful in her own right, someone who'd chosen me for who I was rather than what I could provide financially. "I hope you find what you're really looking for, Chloe," I said as Amy and I walked toward my truck. "But that's not going to be with me. I've learned the difference between someone who loves you and someone who uses you until something better comes along." 6 months ago, Amy and I got engaged during a quiet dinner at home, the kind of simple, meaningful moment that Chloe would have dismissed as lacking sophistication but that felt perfect to both of us. We're planning a small wedding next spring, focusing on celebrating our commitment with people who genuinely care about our happiness rather than staging an expensive production to impress social media followers and professional colleagues. Amy loves my stories about saving lives, asks thoughtful questions about my work, and treats my career as a firefighter with the respect and admiration it deserves. She's never suggested I need to better myself professionally or compared me unfavorably to other men in her social circle. When I told her about funding Chloe's education and career development, Amy's response was characteristic of who she is. "That shows what kind of man you are, someone who invests in the people he loves and believes in their potential." Chloe was incredibly lucky to have that support, and incredibly stupid to throw it away for someone who was stealing money to impress her. I'm grateful every day that Chloe's betrayal freed me to find someone who actually deserves the love and commitment I have to offer, someone who sees my value and would never trade our relationship for the illusion of something more exciting or financially advantageous.